I want to preface by saying that Kevin Herter is one of the best players on this team. He's terrific. The way they're able to use him on offense and the way that he's adjusted to the fact that guys just run him off the line, the way that he's consistently found other ways to score when the three ball wasn't necessarily falling, and what he does on defense, particularly off ball. He's doing so well. He's taken that next step. But with that next step, with higher usage, with everything that's going on, with probably more expected out of him on defense, I would think it's fair to say we probably with Mike Brown as your head coach that those expectations, the standard is way higher on that end of the floor. If anybody is tired, it seems like a lot of guys are tired, but Kevin Herter is a good candidate for perhaps most tired player on the Kings. And it's weird to say that because he's had a couple of good games here, where he's scoring like 16 points or whatever and hitting a few threes or whatever and doing what he does off ball, getting these weak side steals, weak side help, all that stuff. But I think it's Professor Oak on Twitter pointed out, I think during the weekend, that Kevin Herter's three-point percentage has consistently fallen month by month, which upon hearing that is probably not very surprising to you, just from watching. And Professor Oak noted, the professor, I should just call him a professor. Professor noted that, Kevin Herter's role here in Sacramento is far more extensive. His off-ball movement is way up. He's far more of a primary offensive option. And again, there's that standard on defense that's higher. They're asking him to do more on all sides of the floor. And people tell you that the general rule of tired legs is whether or not the three ball is falling, because that's a great test for the freshness of legs. Everything comes from the legs. And that 3-point percentage is down. Kind of a good indication. Another thing, despite the fact that he's so good off ball, and he's not terrible on ball. I would never say that Kevin Herter is a terrible on ball defender, but does he get beat? Like, he gets beat like 3 or 4 times a game. And we were just talking about perimeter defense. Sometimes he'll get that one-on-one situation on the perimeter and he gets beat, forces that help from Sabonis, forces a rotation, and now chaos ensues. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes you force the stop. It's not sustainable. And I'm not putting it all on Herter. It happens all the time with other guys. We talk about Fox and Mitchell being great. They have their moments where they, a guy kind of beats them or they force help. It's the NBA. It's make or miss league. It's a stop or not league. I don't know if that doesn't sound good, but I'm gonna say it anyways. But you just kind of see it, and I feel like the on-ball defense, while never like exceptional for Herter, I feel like it's a little more prevalent where he gets beat or whatnot. He also gets called for a lot of fouls too. I think is another thing that I think it was in the last Mavericks game. I think he got into some foul trouble. It's happened recently. I don't think I'm not trying to indict his on-ball defense. I'm just substantiating that point that he does seem tired, and no fault to him. I mean, like, the dude's taking that next step in his career. He's for the better, and what he'll be able to do next year is huge. But one of the things that you see with Kevin Herter when he was playing for the Hawks is that his offensive production and defensive efficacy would rise in the playoffs. And if he's getting tired, and if he's being not like overworked, but if he's just kind of has a load that's kind of wearing on him because it's the biggest load that he's ever taken, it sounds weird, but he's put on his shoulders, that'll become a far more glaring issue come late in the season, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And again, this isn't an indictment of Kevin Herter or anything like that. It's really kind of just an observation made by somebody else that I felt was a good point. And again, there's moments where I'll really fixate on Herter on defense, and I'll be noticing that he's doing well. He'll play pretty well in stretches on ball, not get beat, stop a guy. What are you kind of your thoughts on that? It's kind of more of like an observation. I don't really have like a question to go off on that, but just in terms of, the different load, what that might mean for a playoff situation. Do you have any kind of initial thoughts on Kevin Herter and fatigue and maybe the rest of the team as a whole? I don't want to single out Herter.
No.
Even though that's exactly what I'm doing.
Well, I mean, Herter's just the best example of it at this moment. In years past, especially Harrison Barnes, he was the poster child for this, right? The poster guy for being tired before the All-Star break because his numbers dropped significantly around like right before the All-Star break. So it's Kevin Herter this year, but At least with the Kings and probably every team, everyone gets tired, right? So
Yeah, Barnes
all
is tired. I mean, that 3-point success that he had kind of through January and early or late December. It started in late December. Well, most of January he was shooting great,
yeah.
and these last 4 or 5 games is just
Yeah, it's gone out the window. So the All-Star break will do, I mean, everyone well, right?